Welcome to Shark Week on Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Raiders of the Lost Shark. Evil has an appetite.
Distributed by Wild Eye Releasing, directed by Scott Patrick. This movie stars Candice Lidstone and Jessica Huether. Raiders of the Lost Shark is about a mad scientist who does experiments on ancient sharks to try to create the ultimate killing machine. He succeeds and ends up killing a bunch of bystanders on this little lake. So what did we like? I really enjoyed some of the shark fights. How we had the camera was in the water. It was right down with them, so we got kind of the first person perspective of the people, like close-ups. It was really well done.
I enjoyed how intentionally bad this film was. It was beyond campy, but at moments it had lights of hilarity.
What was funny, John?
I thought the deputy was funny.
Oh.
And some of those lines.
He was the worst fucking actor I ever seen in my life.
No, I liked the deputy. I thought he was pretty entertaining.
They had some nice chemistry. It took a little getting used to.
Yeah.
But I eventually kind of got what they were going for with the back and forth.
A lot of this was done intentionally.
All right, now what didn't we like?
I think this was the worst acting we've seen in anything. Across the board, it was shit. And John says, like, oh yeah, they were intentionally trying to be campy. And I get that. They were trying, but they were still trying to act reasonable, and it was really, really difficult to watch.
There was a lot of conversations where we had both actors on the camera at once, and it looked like they were just spewing their lines. There was no chemistry. They were just kind of saying what they need to say, and that was it.
Just Steven and the ladies.
Oh no.
Anyone got a microbus?
This is gonna be so awesome.
The sea captain. That was just cringeworthy moments right there. Especially the song. That was like forcing humor down our throat that wasn't even funny.
I think they did that a lot. We laughed at how bad the movie was, but we didn't laugh at any of the jokes or even the attempts at jokes. It was just very, very cringeworthy.
The cinematography was not the best in this film, especially the amount of long takes that we had when people were getting to their destinations. They could have easily solved this by like trimming off 5 seconds of people walking, or maybe even use a dolly.
The locations in this movie were shit. The police office was just like the room in a school. When you go to like the tech geeks room, it was just a big empty blue room where people clearly painted around a TV and its wires. Which was, who paints around a wire? But who shoots a movie in the most boring of all locations? There's no sense of depth in any shot in this entire movie. Even there's a newscaster. Oh, we're gonna shoot him standing directly against a brick wall. Like, there's absolutely no depth to this whole thing, so you don't know the scale of anything. You don't know the scale of the shark, because if you see a shark flying through the air, the shark takes up the entire screen, and it's just like, it could be the size of a fucking bass, a smallmouth bass. And in some shots, like when it tries to knock over some girls, it does look like it's about 3 feet long.
The shark itself looked like it was like a plastic toy. One of those things that you give like a 5-year-old to play with in the tub.
There was one point where it literally looked like one of those like stuffed sharks that like
It's like a little puppet. We actually met one of the co-writers, and we have an interview on the channel, Brett Kelly. But the writing was not good.
Each person didn't have something that stood out that was like, oh, this person is this stereotype, or oh, this is your typical character. They were all one-dimensional.
Like the main character had the only backstory, and she got like a flashback to like her like motivation for killing the shark. But other characters, we get like before they die, like, oh, like that's why I married you, or like I love you so much, but it's like, so?
One of the biggest problems about this movie, the audio clips in every single goddamn scene. We just do stuff on YouTube. These guys have made 30 movies. This is their most recent film. It came out in 2015. How are they clipping their audio? We learned that the very first time we did a goddamn interview. And I think technically this was a terribly done film.
I get it. Sometimes you run into problems with scheduling and weather is an issue. There's a scene where it's snowing. Have some contingency days. Like, reshoot when it's not snowing.
I liked how they worked out that we're gonna give this character who was just in the water a coat that came out of nowhere, and then we figured out later it's because they're filming in freezing cold temperatures.
Yeah. And in fact, it was like the villain of the movie who comes out of the trees with a gun and bloody hands and just like, here, wear this coat.
And it wasn't like he took it off himself. It's like it fit her perfectly. It was her
It
jacket.
was a girl's leather jacket that he just had in his hands.
I was disappointed with the lack of Indiana Jones references. I wanted the shark to get like lassoed with a whip or like something, like a hat, like even like a nod, something.
Were you hoping for like some guy to be like doing a sword trick in front of the shark?
in the background,
and then the shark just like
That would have been great.
on the beach,
Yeah.
like trying to impress some ladies. Oh, that would have been wicked. But
yeah.
Unfortunately, they just made the name of this movie Raiders of the Lost Shark for no reason. There's not one reference to Indiana Jones, and the cover was great. It's got like a girl riding a wave runner with explosions and another one with dynamite in her goddamn hand. This isn't what happens in the movie.
they probably spent more money on that cover art than they did in most of the movie.
They know what sells.
And then, even though IMDb says this was $350,000,
Somebody took home a lot of cash, if that's the case.
well, the same guys wrote Jurassic Shark, which we can't wait to see.
Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings.
This was the worst shark movie I've ever seen, and I've seen a ton of shark movies, and I've seen a ton of bad shark movies, but this technically was the worst one. The acting was absolutely terrible. There was no story, and there was no character development, and there was no blood in the movie. It was just a really, really bad time. So I'm gonna give this movie 0.5 muscle men getting eaten by flying sharks out of 5.
This truly was a terrible shark movie. There was no development, the story was flat, and there was a lot of technical issues that it's really hard to overlook. Some people may watch this and really appreciate the campy feel and the over-the-top acting, but at the end of the day, it's still a pretty boring movie to watch. So that being said, I'm gonna give this 0.5 necking in the back seat of a car out of 5.
I didn't like this movie at all. The acting was horrible. The music was off. The sound was off. Nothing went right. It felt like they didn't try. Everyone just like showed up. They did what they needed to do. They read the script. They got some high school students to edit it, and they released it. I don't know what else there is to say. So with all that said, I'm gonna have to give this 0.5 my first photo shoots out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below if you've seen this movie. If you haven't, don't see it. Every other shark movie is better than this movie. So go watch those ones. And make sure you check out the rest of the shark movies that we have coming out this week and the ones that we've already dropped, because they're all better than this. Thanks for watching.